Good day, everyone. Today, we start on our lecture on understanding what is virtual reality. In this lecture, we are going to understand what exactly is virtual reality, the types of virtual reality, the history behind virtual reality, and finally, the advantages and disadvantages of the same. Today's lecture is important basically to get a first understanding of virtual reality. So let's start with understanding basically what is virtual reality. Virtual reality is a simulated experience that can be similar to or completely different from the real world. Virtual reality or VR is the use of computer technology to create a simulated environment. Unlike traditional user interfaces, VR places the user inside an experience. Instead of viewing a screen in front of them, users are immersed and able to interact with the 3D worlds. By simulating as many senses as possible, such as vision, hearing, touch, even smell, the computer is transformed into a gatekeeper to this artificial world. Currently, standard virtual reality systems use either virtual reality headsets or multi projected environments to generate realistic images, sounds, and other sensations that simulate a user's physical presence in a virtual environment. A person using virtual reality equipment is able to look around the artificial world, move around in it, and interact with virtual features or items. The effect is commonly created by VR headsets consisting of a head mounted display with a small screen in front of the eyes, but can also be created through specially designed rooms with multiple large screens. Virtual reality typically incorporates auditory and video feedback, but may also allow other types of sensory and force feedback through haptic technology. As we study about virtual reality further in our course, we will understand it much more in detail. There are three different types of virtual reality also, based on how the virtual reality experience was developed, based on how users consume it. The virtual reality can be classified into five different types: fully immersive, semi immersive, non immersive, collaborative, and web based. Let me start by giving you a brief idea about what these types actually mean. The details of the types of virtual reality will be discussed in the upcoming lectures. The first type is the fully immersive type of virtual reality. Fully immersive virtual reality is a digital technology that allows users to experience artificial environments as the real world. In other words, users perceive virtual computer generated surroundings using visuals, auditory, and haptics. The main destination of this technology is to make it impossible for users to recognize they are in a simulation rather than a real world environment. The next type of virtual reality is the semi immersive virtual reality. Semi immersive virtual reality refers to a specific type of VR that allows users to experience virtual three-dimensional environments while remaining connected to the real world surrounding visuals, auditory smells, and haptics, as well as keeping control over physical objects. With semi immersive VR, you can see what's going on around you and interact with the objects you need. The next type of virtual reality is the non immersive virtual reality. Non immersive VR is a type of virtual reality technology that provides users with a computer generated environment without a feeling of being immersed in the virtual world. The main characteristic of a non immersive VR system is that users can keep control over the physical surrounding while being aware of what's going on around them: sound, visuals, haptics. Collaborative virtual reality is an upcoming important feature. The idea of sharing an experience in a virtual world with other people, often in real time or something very close to it. Think about meetings, presentations, and classes with all the students occurring in virtual reality. This is something which is actively being worked upon. Web-based VR has emerged as a platform-independent framework that permits individuals with little to or no prior programming experience to create immersive and interactive VR applications. This is also something upcoming in virtual reality. In the next slide, let us look at the history of virtual reality. The present slide talks about the history of virtual reality. In 1960s, Ivan Sutherland created the first VR head-mounted display. Sutherland's head-mounted display was so heavy that it had to be suspended from the ceiling, and the formidable appearance of the device inspired its name, the Sword of Damocles. The system was primitive both in terms of user interface and realism, and the graphics comprising the virtual environment were simple wireframe rooms. Therefore, the head-mounted display that you can wear these days have gone through the evolution and iteration right from the 1960s. In 1987, the term virtual reality was coined by Jaron Lanier, founder of Visual Programming Lab. Through his company VPL Research, Jaron developed a range of virtual reality gear, including the data glove, along with Tom Zimmerman and the iPhone head-mounted display. They were the first company to sell virtual reality goggles. A much well-known movie, The Matrix, featured characters living in a simulated world depicting VR. The movie Matrix is a somewhat depiction of what a fully immersive VR actually is. In the 21st century, with the boom of smartphones with high density displays and 3D graphic capabilities, led to a new generation of lightweight and practical VR devices possible. As we see now, various new VR devices and experiences are being developed globally, and it's transforming lives right from social networking to the way we carry out meetings as well as education. As we have been introduced now to virtual reality, let's look at the advantages that is provided by virtual reality. They are as follows. First is little to no risk. The first advantage is there is little or no risk at all in working in virtual reality. You can experience virtual reality in the comfort of your home using a proper head mounted display. Safe, controlled area. Any of the virtual reality, whether it be with any equipment, can be carried out in a safe area. As long as there are no obstacles or nearby equipment, the entire experience can be carried out in a complete empty room, also without any problem. Realistic scenarios. Through virtual reality, it is possible to experience realistic scenarios as if they were actually occurring in real. To give an example, we can simulate the actual physics of raindrops falling on the tarmac, and using appropriate gear, we can feel those raindrops in real also. This is extremely useful training for training and simulation purposes, which forms the main crux of the virtual reality. Can be done remotely, saving time and money. The VR experiences can be remotely developed, keeping in mind the problem statement, and then sent to the actual user, which can be a remote location also. For example, for training technicians to use an equipment, the training experience can be remotely developed using the VR software. Once the experience is developed, it can then be shared with the technicians for getting trained. Improves retention and recall. Since virtual reality is experienced in real time, it is possible to retain and recall the experience for a very long time. This is one of the biggest advantages in virtual reality. The first time you experience virtual reality, you are wowed by what it can do and what all is possible. And when you start experiencing it, it actually becomes like an unforgettable experience. Simplifies complex problems and solutions. Think about performing complex fire training in virtual reality. It would be very difficult to actually have a live training where you are actually going through a fire situation and responding to it. But similar thing you can do in virtual reality where you are trained how to respond to this fire training without the harm happening to anything, suitable for different learning styles. Language barrier is a significant problem in the field of education. In case if you are not studying in your hometown, you need to adopt the dialect of the place where you are considering. With the implementation of virtual reality, the possible language can be aptly implemented by making use of the suitable software, and it is innovative and enjoyable. All these advantages are making virtual reality one of the most upcoming technologies in today's world. And one of the primary factors for this course is not only to acquaint you with the technology, but also to help you to develop the required content in it. As there are advantages of virtual reality, there are also disadvantages of the same. First is the ineffective human connections. Virtual reality comes with the set of disadvantages. The conventional education system is mainly based on interpersonal connections and the level of individual human communication. The concept of virtual reality is different. It is only about you and the software. Functionality issues. To experience actual immersive VR, currently we require an expensive headset which is connected to even more expensive desktop laptop to run the experience. Immersive VR currently requires a lot of pre and post requirements to experience the content. Quite expensive. As with any new technology, the initial costs are extremely high. Even mediocre VR devices are priced fairly high. This trend is likely to continue for the decade to come until we figure out how to reduce costs for VR capable devices. Google did play a very smart game with VR with its Google Cardboard. However, it's not exactly a VR set, but rather just a smartphone assembly made of cardboard. It does do the job though. It allows users to experience VR at a significantly cheaper rate. That being said, its application, while good for education, is limited in the broad sense of technology. Low resolution content, large scale size. A less looked at the aspect of VR devices, the software of VR is significantly bigger. Since VR devices involve more programming for their immersive experiences, it is given VR software takes up a lot of space and require a lot of computing power compared to other devices. That is one of the reasons that VR software for sale usually looks worse than the normal computer software. While compressing software isn't really all that difficult, it takes time for VR software to shrink in size. But this compression will, in turn, increase the initial costs of VR. Locomotion sickness. VR successfully mimics the illusion of reality by placing it close to your visual space, but it is also the exact thing that can break the illusion that VR is trying to create. VR devices still mimic movement through joysticks and inbuilt game software mechanics, and not the actual movement of the person. This causes what is termed as locomotion sickness. In medical terms, when moving around in VR, your eyes perceive your body as moving and they send a signal to your brain that you are moving. But the inertia and the balance of the body are maintained by the fluids in your ears. The ear fluids don't send the same signal since they are not moving, which confuses your brain and causes uneasiness, nausea, and in the worst cases, fainting. It is similar to what you feel when traveling in a bus on a winding road. Potential eye damage, and Virgin's conflict. Coming to a major problem with VR, potential eye damage is high up in the list. VR is basically a screen placed a few centimeters from your eyes. This has a significant effect on eyesight, and eye damage is a major cause of worry. Our addiction to computers itself raised a new problem called computer vision syndrome. There is a substantial proof that both computers and televisions have increased eyesight problems worldwide, with the smartphones adding to that list. While VR uses high quality display screens, this is a very real drawback and influential enough to get the government involved if the things go out of hand. Lack of vision of the surroundings. Not exactly a deal breaking problem, but the truth is that once you put on a VR headset, you cannot see around you. This is a great drawback when using a VR device at home, and the lack of vision can cause expensive accidents. A lot of videos on the internet prove the same. Finally, to summarize the overall lecture, following were covered during the lecture. We covered what is virtual reality, what are the types of virtual reality, such as fully immersive, history of virtual reality, what are the advantages and disadvantages of virtual reality. In the next lecture, we will be looking at the hardware and software in VR. Thank you very much.